Good morning. Hi, friends. Welcome to an Ask Me Anything session where we are going to get down and talk about anything you want to talk about. My name, if you're new here, is Rashida Dow. I am a career break and move abroad coach that lives in Mexico City. I've lived here for 6 years, and I'm back on the apartment hunt. So I got a lot to talk about if you want to talk about that. Good morning. Good morning. If you're here, say hi in the comments. If you're watching this in the future on the replay, let me know you were there. Good morning to everyone. Good morning to everyone in my membership who is here right now in my YouTube membership. We're going to get together after this live stream. You know, I'll send you the link like I normally do. Buenos dias, everyone. Feliz año nuevo. This is our first session of the new year, and I wanted to just chat with you guys, see what you had going on, see what you wanted to talk about. And we're going to do just that. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. This is a session to avoid dealing with trolls that always show up for things like this. You have to be subscribed to leave a comment. So you have to be subscribed for an hour. So if you're not subscribed right now and you can't comment, subscribe now, and then in an hour you'll be able to ask any question you have. Okay? All right. Let's go. There's some questions already. I was thinking, why are these not? I'm just doing things at this point. Where's my juice? I'm supposed to have juice. My juice is somewhere else. And I don't need water here. If I need it, I'll get up and get it. Y'all know how it goes. All right. An Ask Me Anything session works like this. You ask me any question you have in mind. That's it. Any question you have, ask it, and I will answer. My first question comes from the Epileptic Wanderer. And that is, good morning, Rashida and everyone. How did you navigate Mexico City when you first arrived with little or no Spanish? That was 2019. 28. The first time I was here was 2016 for a visit. But when I moved here, it was 2019. I had little Spanish, not no Spanish. I had little Spanish. And I found it not incredibly challenging. Not that there's a lot of Spanish here. There is a lot more Spanish now than there used to be 5 or 6 years ago. I'm sorry, a lot more English now. There used to be 5 or 6 years ago. But this wasn't incredibly challenging. I remember I went to one place and I ordered food and they just looked at me like I was crazy. And I was like, all right, I'd seen the menu and I was like, this is what I want, whatever. And so I kept like pointing to it on the menu and they still looked at me like I was crazy. I had an eye patch on. Actually, my eye was taped shut. I had a piece of gauze and a big piece of tape over my eye because I just come from an eye doctor. That could have been part of the reason they were looking at me like I was crazy. I was also in Santa Maria la Ribera, which at that point, I was the only foreigner I saw. The only time I saw a foreigner when I was staying in that neighborhood was when I looked in the mirror. That neighborhood has changed a bit now, so there's more English there. There are more foreigners there. It's hard to say how I navigated because I don't really remember any real struggles. Like I pointed to it on the menu and eventually they were like, I guess she for real wants to eat here. I don't know what she's doing here, but I guess she's serious about food. So they brought me the food. Everything else, like when I first got here, I was staying in Airbnbs, which, you know, they'll translate those listings if y'all don't speak the same language. So that wasn't a problem. Going to the grocery store, I didn't need a lot of English. I know what food I want to eat. I know what this says, right? If I wasn't sure what something was, I could use a translation app. Sometimes I'm still not that great with my numbers. So I would be like, let me see the number on the register, right? Like I'm poking around, like you said a number, but I'm not quite sure what that was. Let me poke my head around and see what you're seeing so I know. And that worked. So it wasn't I always say, you guys have heard me say this before, that if you can do something in English, you can do it in another language. So I think if you're moving to a new place for a while you're working on your language skills, do things you know how to do, right? You know how to go to the grocery store. If you're a crocheter, which I will be in a few weeks, you know how to you know how to buy yarn. You know how to sit in a crochet circle and crochet, right? You can do these things. If you're a runner, you can join a run club, right? If you have a run club at home, you can join a run club there. You may not know all the words, but you know the activities. Like I can do yoga in any language, any language around the world. I can do yoga. I know yoga, right? Like I know what like I know what the sequence is going to be before you even. I know what's next. I know this. Um, and so if you stick to things you know how to do for a while, which can also help create a comfort level, I think you're no matter where you go or what language you're dealing with, you're off to a lot better start. All right. That was a meandery question, but we got there. We got there. All right. Valerina wants to know how my apartment search is going. I'm skipping around in the questions. I'm not ignoring anybody. My apartment search is I saw an apartment yesterday. Adelia went with me. And in the ad, I'm seeing places that look exceptional in the ad, and then I'm showing up and I'm like, what are we doing here? What's going on? What's this? I saw a place on Friday. On Friday. Friday was the first time I went out and saw a place. I think so. I don't know. No, I saw a place a couple weeks ago. But the first time in the new year was Friday. Okay. I got there. The main photo on the listing is the outdoor terrace, which is a little suspicious. The outdoor terrace is the first photo, but y'all got this really nice outdoor terrace. Yes. I went to the rest of the place and I was like, this is shenanigans. They wanted 50,000 pesos plus, I think, 4,000 in maintenance. So that's 54,000 pesos, which is, let me get to my translation app, so my conversion app, so I can do this properly. Because I know what it is in my head, but it changes all the time. So about $3,000. I didn't realize it was so. Ooh, I didn't realize the dollar had dropped so much. It's about $3,000. The realtor was complaining about how bad the apartment was. She was like, yeah, it's real dark. She was like, yeah, the kitchen needs to be completely redone. There's a huge floor to ceiling wine rack. I don't know why we need a floor to ceiling wine rack, but it was like built in. And she was like, yeah, that's so dark. It needs to be painted. We went to the bedrooms and she's like, yeah, I don't know. You don't even think, as the realtor who's not representing me, representing this place and the owner of this place, you don't even think it's worth it. She was like, yeah, no, this is not. She said I was like the 10th person who came, and everybody who came was like, it's not worth the money. It's not only is it not worth the money, but like there are things I would need to change before I moved in. I looked at the stove and I was like, that stove is too, like my pans can't, I bake. My pans can't fit in that stove. And she was like, yeah, nothing fits in that stove. Now the stove is from the 70s. Kitchen from the 70s. You want 3,000 pesos? 3,000 American Earth dollars? It was a two-bedroom, 2.5 bath. with a like a room for like a if you have a live-in service provider, a place where they could stay, which would have made a nice office. But the fact that she's like everybody who see I places go quickly here. We used to be able to find places in Mexico City and a lot of parts of Mexico by walking around and looking for rent signs. I'm not looking in Condesa, but I was in Condesa the other day for something. I was waiting for food. While I was waiting for my food, I was like, let me walk around the neighborhood and just see because I'm never over here, right? I don't really like Condesa. It's the one place that if I see an apartment there, I'm like, I'm not looking at it. Me personally, I don't want to live there. People love it. I don't want to live there. Anyway, I'm walking. I did not see one for rent sale sign in Condesa yesterday. Adelia and I, were we in Del Valle? Maybe not a single for rent sign. And that's a much more local neighborhood. So local neighborhoods, very kind of gentrified neighborhoods with a lot of foreigners. No for rent signs anymore. City full. The city is full. And the places I'm seeing, I'm like, nah. So yes, that was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath not in like the central hub where people really love to live, and it was $3,000. No, they didn't. Okay, so it's hard to say if something's priced for Americans or not. I think a lot of things are priced for fools, but that's how real estate goes everywhere, right? That's how real estate goes everywhere. It's priced for fools. Because now, when she said the price, when she was like, "How do you feel about the price?" I was like, for the, I was like, I've lived here 5 years, so these numbers don't make sense in my head anyway, right? Like, I just paying that much does not make sense. But I looked at it. The best thing was the outdoor space that was there in the photo. A floor to ceiling wine rack. But the closet is literally this wide. Where my clothes gonna go? Where shall my things be? Okay, saw another place. Gorgeous, stunning. It does not have the outdoor space that I want. So I'm looking for large spaces, lots of light, some kind of outdoor space where I can have maybe a dining table, an outdoor dining area, a seating area. This is the goal. Gorgeous. It had a bodega, it had a pantry inside, which you never see unless it's a really old building, and old buildings, whatever. And it had so much light. Beautiful. But no, I could have a folding chair that I brought up to the roof and sat on, like made a makeshift space for myself on the roof that wouldn't be private because anybody can be on the roof. But other than that, I could not have my outdoor dining area. So cute space, good neighborhood, and that was 40,000 pesos, which is $2,200. The same realtor took me to the second one. So she went to the first one. The second one wasn't hers, but the agent wasn't getting in touch with me, and she got in touch with the agent. I was like, we'll go together. I think she would have got a cut. She found a way to get a cut of the commission, I believe. We went there, and she was like, yes, this is so much better. So much better than her own listing. She was like, this is so much better. And I was like, yes, it is. Yes, it is. But I feel like if I'm going to pay $2,200, I want to get the outdoor space that I want. Also not priced for Americans, not priced for foreigners. This is just what places cost these days. So, yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. The place I went with the daily to yesterday. Photo's nice. Fireplace with a working chimney. Wood burning, so that would be some effort I would have to do because where am I going to get wood from? I would have to have a wood man who came by. Things I didn't. Beautiful rooftop. Beautiful rooftop. The rest of it, I think it was built 40 years ago and has not. They did a really cosmetic renovation to it. Like the windows don't window. Like you can't. The kitchen windows you couldn't open to ventilate. They open. There's only like this much of it opens and like slides. Like that to open. It turns to open. Tilts. That's the word. It tilts to open. So you can't really open it and you can't really seal it shut either. So when it's cold, that cold air gonna come in. So yeah, it was one of those places where I'm like, the bones are great. But the same raggedy meat been hanging off his bones since the early 80s. And the kitchen cabinets were high quality. They were bright orange. When y'all think these bright orange cabinets were installed? I think possibly the 80s. Maybe. So yeah, it was good, but it wasn't great. Katrina's looking at apartments in Siem Reap for $350 a month. Yeah, you're not getting that. These are not the Mexico City prices. No, no, no. I talked to my landlord. I told her I was leaving, and she was like, "I'll give you a free month of rent to stay." No, girl. No, girl. They're about to build a 30-something floor tower in front of me. They've been digging the base for a 30-something floor tower for 6 months. How long do we think the construction of 30-something, including the basements, let's count it close to 40 floors, is going to take? And how much noise am I gonna? I was like, no. Mm-mm. Okay, so yeah, Michelle says the way the landlord is handling that apartment cosmetic messy right now tells you what kind of landlord they will be, and they live in the unit next door. I don't want to live near my tenants. I've as someone who's owned property, I did not want to live. I didn't want my tenants knowing where I lived. As a tenant, I don't want to live right next door to my landlord. They hear every noise you make. I said, oh. They know if you have guests. They know if you have a party. And there was no security. I don't think Mexico City is an unsafe city. But I expect every place I live to have security because most of the places have some form of security. Two of them that I saw, the first one that was the $3,000, and the last one I saw yesterday that was right next to the neighbor, didn't have any kind of security. And the part about that is who gets my packages? Adelia got to the place before I did yesterday, and she asked the realtor that, like, okay, if there's no security, like, what do they do about packages, whatever? And he was like, oh, the neighbors are really nice. So if you're not home, they'll just get it for you. You can see how that could be problematic. And then he was like, the owner of the property, he'll get it. He'll do whatever. The man has a job. He's not at home. You keep talking about him by his occupation. He's a doctor. If he's not like a retired doctor, but a doctor, he's not home getting packages. Then the man said, or you could just stay home. Or you could just stay home. I told you, but if something is coming in, if it comes through customs, you have no idea when it's coming. But you need to be home to get it, and you need to have whatever amount they're charging you for it in cash to pay them. So if I had something that was coming through customs, I would not know when it was coming to be home. I would just need to be home forever and wait for it. Because my neighbor's probably not going to pay to get, right? Like if I have to pay to get it, my neighbor's probably not going to be like, oh, she owes you 250 pesos. I got that. Maybe the landlord would, maybe. Anyway, that's the point of having security, that's one of the points, right? Yeah, Courtney says these rent prices are wild. I'm looking. I'm seeing some good places at like 3,500, which is more than I pay for now. It's significantly more than I pay now. Which is just under $2,000 right now, but 3,500 should be 1,750, but now it's 1,950. Anyway, gone, 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 gone. I want a lot of space. You can get smaller spaces for less money. I want a lot of space. When I told my cleaning lady I wanted to move, and I was like, will you go to this neighborhood with me? She was like, you need more space, huh? Yes, girl, I have stuffs. I have stuffs. I need more space for my stuffs. Thank you. So yeah, so that's what I'm looking at with this. Yeah. Azalea says outdoor space at a premium in Mexico City. Yes. That man really thought people were going to pay $3,000 for that terrace with the rest of the apartment looking like. It's very common in Mexico City, and it's one of the reasons I love my apartment, my current one. It's very common for your bedroom to be like throwing distance from someone else's bedroom, like a stranger, your neighbor's bedroom, right? So like I could be like, hey girl, can I borrow that shirt? I'm going to the club tonight. And they could just throw it and I'd get it, like through window to window. Like it's that, like a lot of places are that close. And the one in but the realtor was talking mess about, it was like that. Like I can see into your bedroom, you can see into mine. What are we doing? Like yes, there's blackout curtains, but either my option is I have my blackout curtains drawn. It was just that. It was just blackout curtains. Or here I have blackout curtains and I have like a sheer curtain as well. I could have blackout curtains or I could have light and everyone could see directly into my bedroom. Those are the only options there. Yes, that's something that you could change, but at $3,000 a month, I would like these to be changed before I got here. And that's one of the things I said to the realtor was I'm not going to sign a lease because the landlord said he gonna do something. Because he said he gonna do doesn't mean anything to me. So I need it actually done or in progress before I sign a lease. And she got it. She was really great. We went to another place. Yeah. Anne says that's Bay Area pricing. That's more than I paid when I lived in the Bay Area. Last time I lived there was 2018, but that's definitely more than I paid in the Bay Area. And when I tell you the kitchen was janky. Anyway. So that's how the apartment search is going right now. I am looking. I'm probably gonna end up paying close to $2,000. But if I'm paying $2,000, I will be getting a 3 to 4 bedroom apartment. Fourth bedroom is usually that like small space for cleaning area. I told you I saw one before. Beautiful apartment, huge apartment. The room for the help, there were nannies, I believe. Maybe a nanny and a cleaning lady, but at least one nanny. You couldn't open the door. There was a bunk bed in there. So 2 people stayed there. And you couldn't open the door all the way to get into the room because it was so small. But I don't need 4 bedrooms. So if I have a bedroom like that, I can use it as an office or like a gym or something. So you have too many things to fix for $3,000 a month. And the realtor was like, yeah, he's in Europe, but when he gets back, we're going to have to talk about this pricing. And I was like, oh, well, holler at me when it gets cut in half. So we'll see. I'm moving because there's construction happening right next to me that will probably take 2 years of very, very loud steel work. And my lease is up now. My lease is up in February. And it's like, I could live through a year of construction or I could move. Why not move? Lip gloss is stunning. Thank you. It is Ami Cole, who went out of business last year. So it doesn't really matter what the color is because I don't know. It's one of her lip glosses. All right, let's go back to your questions. Your questions. My apartment search. I may go see some stuff tomorrow. Before we get off that topic, I sent Adelia, I showed her a link to one yesterday, and her first response was, it must stink in there. Like the plumbing system must like be giving off fumes because the price does not match what's going on at all. And I was like, I don't even want to live in that neighborhood, but I want to see it because I don't understand what's happening. There's another one in Polanco I'm probably going to see tomorrow. I don't want to live. I don't think I want to live there, but the price tells me I need to see what's happening because it's very confusion. It's very, very confusion. Also, keep in mind that when I tell you the prices right now, the app I'm using has the dollar, $1 US as 17.9 Mexican pesos. When I go to pay, if I pay from dollars, whatever app I use is going to give me less than that. So my actual rent is going to be higher. But when I moved here, $1 was 20 pesos. We're down to below 18. And when I go, like I said, when I go to pay my rent, I'm going to be hitting close to 17. So it's going to be a higher number in dollars because of the fluctuation between the dollars and the pesos, which is challenging. Now, this morning I was like, I'm going to San Miguel this week we're having a meetup in Exodus Summit is having a meetup in San Miguel. And I was like, I thought about you, Angela, and I was like, she has a nice place. I bet I could find a nice place in San Miguel, but I don't want to live there. Flutter by PNW says, I lived for 2 years next to large apartment building construction sites, nerve-wracking, not to mention the dust. And 60 plus Black woman expats said same thing, dust, fumed. When I moved in here, the building next to me was complete on the outside, but they were doing some of the inside build out. My place was a dust bucket every day. I'd dust one day, the next day I'd be like, why my floor look like this? I could draw on the floor with my finger, and I mopped yesterday. And that was just doing the inside of an already constructed building. So building the whole out, it's not for me. It's not for me. So that's definitely why I'm moving. The other thing I thought about San Miguel, Angela, was I was like, I wouldn't be paying these rent prices in San Miguel. This is not the numbers I would be seeing in San Miguel. It's not. Exodus Summit is having a meetup this Friday in San Miguel. So if you're in the area, come by, come hang out with us. If you don't, the way to get the details, because I don't give them online, because this is a public space and we want it to be private-ish. I'm going to drop the link. Not private-ish. We are, that's not the link I want to drop. You can find us, our online space, at exodussummit.community, and all the information about the meetup in San Miguel is going to be there. Our private community costs a minimum of $1 one time only, not a recurring fee. Minimum of $1 to join, to keep people out, which we haven't had a problem with. When we were on Facebook, people kept inviting their non-Black women friends. Black men, white women, blah, blah, blah. Now that we're in a paid space, even though it's only $1, we don't have that problem anymore. They're not showing up. It's not worth $1 to them to show up just to troll or to be nosy. And that's why I'm doing this here, where you have to be a subscriber to comment, because the bar, my online business people, keep in mind, the bar doesn't have to be high to keep people out. A little bit of effort, a little bit of energy will keep them out. Someone who wants to come here and talk about why Black women are the lowest of the low, or whatever they be doing online, they're not gonna subscribe, go do something else, wait an hour, and then come back to troll. Right? That's why I was like, you got to be, if you actually want to engage in the conversation from a good place, you might watch it and wait around. But if you're just here just to talk smack, you're not going to wait an hour to do that. That's why. This is why we gatekeep. All right. Yes, they don't pay to troll. All the men that tried to get in our community when it was free are not trying to get in when it's paid. $1. They're not trying to get in at $1, which is good because we would kick them out. But $1 is enough of a boundary to have people be like, never mind. When it was a free Facebook group, everybody was there. Everybody was trying to get in. Just a little tip for you if you're running an online business, if you're doing anything, the boundary doesn't have to be high. Barrier doesn't have to be high, but it will keep people out. All right, next question, or my very first question, one of the first questions, was from Ramses. Good morning. What's your opinion about getting residency in Panama? I think residency in Panama is a very, very good option. It's one of my favorite options for people who are on Social Security, who have any kind of retirement income, who may have gotten any kind of disability payment, especially from the military. Excellent option. I don't like the heat, and I don't have a permanent income of $1,000 or more a month. And so I'm not pursuing it, right? I am not pursuing it. I live in a place that's very temperate. Just yesterday, I was complaining about how it's winter. I want to wear my coats. And it was like 65 degrees last night after dark, maybe 63. I have 63-degree coats, but my coats can't come out at 63 degrees. I can't be out here in the fur at 62 degrees. I'm going to blend in a little bit because of the coat. They like coats here. I can't. The point of this little segue was that I live in a place that's very temperate all year round. The weather's not changing that much, right? December, it's been in the 70s, 60s. It got down, I think, to maybe the 50s or the 40s once, twice, 2 days. I don't want the heat either. And that's why I'm not looking at Panama. But if you have more than $1,000 of permanent income, and I think you guys will correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know the number off the top of my head. I think it's $250 for each additional family member that you want to get underneath you. If you have that, it's a really, really great way to get residency outside of the US. Any kind of permanent income, whether that's disability from a permanent source, Social Security, permanence of which, who knows, a pension, anything like that, you can get. That number is, while $1,000 isn't nothing, right? It's so low compared to so many other countries. It's just a really great option. And then you get discounts on everything. You get that pensionado visa. I was in a restaurant once, an Exeter Summit meetup, and a woman just slapped it on her forehead when the man came around with her check and was like, give me my discount. Oh, that's what we doing? Discounts on flights? Discount? I think it's a great option. All right. Did y'all have the answer? Ooh, bring your coats when you come to SMA. Suitcase getting bigger. Yes, and $250 for each spouse or dependent. Yes, $1,000 a month of permanent income from Social Security or another form like that, and $250 for each spouse or dependent. I knew that answer. Do you have to give up your citizenship if moving to Panama? No, you don't get Panamanian citizenship when you get the pensionado visa. It's a different visa. It's a visa, it's not citizenship. So you don't need to do anything to your citizenship. And if you only, because you're not getting citizenship, it wouldn't make sense to give up your citizenship unless you have another reason or another citizenship somewhere, right? Don't be out here uncountryed, y'all. Don't be giving up your citizenship because you got a visa, because those are not the same thing. You got to apples it, y'all. You got to apples it, because if you give up your citizenship without having another, you are stateless. And that's not what you want to do. Alien says the heat is okay in Panama. Not to me. It's the humidity. Heat and humidity are the same thing to me. It's the beach. I don't want it. The rainy season is literally a passing rain every now and then, and that's the only reprieve. I don't want it. I don't want it. Mm-mm. Oh, Carolina, Bread, you can be here. You can be here on YouTube. It's just the other spaces that are private. No problem with a man watching. No problem with a man watching and commenting, as long as you're not being foolish. Good morning, Stephanie Perry. And Aileen says, they do allow dual citizenship if you're there long enough and qualify for it. All right. Next question. Actually, Brittany, I don't understand what you're saying here. So let's see if you could add a little bit more detail or clarity. Someone who, maybe someone else can help. Don't forget, for veterans, the pensionado visa requires you to be 100% total permanent in Panama. Are you saying the pensionado visa requires you to live in Panama 100% of the time? Or are you saying it requires 100% disability? I don't know what you're saying. So if you can add some more clarity to that, that would be appreciated by everybody here, I'm sure. All right. Stephanie wants to know how the apartment hunting is going. If I had responded to your text, you would know. Or if you had been here in the beginning, we already answered that question. Basically, I'm still homeless. But lots of leads. I've seen 4 places in the past 2 weeks. The place I saw Friday was, one of the places I saw was $3,000. I didn't realize it. We're on the call right now and it was nonsense garbage. But you'll catch it on the replay. Okay, let me start this, take this off, go back to the questions. Trustsetter wants to know if we're going to host any events, if I'm going to host any events in Mexico City or any other part of Mexico in 2026. The Exodus Summit meetup is happening in San Miguel de Allende, co-hosted by Darlene and Amina. And then there'll be more before the year is over. I know we're going to do another International Exodus Summit meetup day. Details to come when we know what the details are. So maybe a month or 2. I don't know if Stephanie mentioned this yesterday. I don't think she did, because I haven't heard anyone talk about it yet. But, people arrive late. They usually leave early too. So we can assume Stephanie's not here anymore. And I'm going to tell you something she hasn't given me permission to say, because I can do it too. There's a chance We talked about going to Brazil in June. We talked about Brazil in June. But there's a chance we're going to do Ghana instead. There's a chance we're going to do Ghana instead of Brazil. Small chance. Small. So if you ever wanted to go to Ghana and you love Black women and you want to plan your own vacation, because these meetups are meetups. We are meeting in the same place at the same time. We are not planning anything. We are not planning anything for you. There's a chance it's Ghana instead of Brazil. Unless we start looking at Ghana and we're like, this just seems crazy. But we're like, I don't know. I don't know why we would change it again, but it's looking like Ghana. How did we land on Ghana? As the leader of communities, it's really important that you listen to the people and what they want. It's also important that you do what you want to do too. So we had been like looking at Brazil and we were having some struggles figuring out exactly what we wanted to do there, et cetera, when there wasn't like a big event. And then we were like, I was like, what about Ghana? And Stephanie said, Ghana? Okay. And so that's what it is today. Is June the rainy season? See, we've done no research. That's why we say maybe. When we do our research, we may be like, we need to change some things, but still June as of right now. Yes. Part of the reason we were talking about Ghana is we feel like it would be easier to not easier. Ghana is the kind of place where I want to go with other people. And I was like, this seems like a great way to do it. Like Brazil, I think I could figure out on my own. Ghana, I could use some help with. So if y'all are going, if y'all want to go to Ghana, y'all gonna help plan my trip. So I can go to Juneteenth in Portugal and Ghana before or after. Is Juneteenth a thing in Portugal, or is it when one of the communities in Portugal does what they do? Someone was talking about going to Portugal on tap, doing the layover in Portugal, where the airline hosts you. Doing the stopover in Lisbon and then going to Ghana on tap. So that's probably an option. Felicia and Rick do Juneteenth. Okay. All right. So yeah, that's where we are. But back to the questions. That was a little cheat for you. All right. I answered a question. What's on the horizon for me this year? Don't worry about Stephanie spilling the beans. I can no longer hand Stephanie beans. I think if I want something to be a secret, I have to not tell her and then tell y'all first. That's the position I'm in right now. If I don't want her talking about something, I gotta not tell her. Fall Girl wants to know, would you consider leaving Mexico? I see you in an upscale neighborhood in Medellin, Colombia, beautiful city with good prices. The other day, Adelia was like, you would love Lima. And I'm like, I might. And maybe in the future. maybe Medellin in the future, but right now, Mexico City just does it for me. It just, for me, it does it. I've also never been to Medellin, so I got to go check it out. And I'm probably going to go this fall for the Flower Fest because Stephanie said she's going, and she's not allowed to go to places like that without me, so I might show up. All right. Huh, okay. All right. Oh, Juneteenth with OBU was a time. I might have to slide through. Adelia says Mexico City transcends rent prices. It does until you got to pay the rent every month. Paying the rent every month, I'm like, y'all. And I'm not paying anything near to what these new numbers are. I'm paying rent based on my number 5 years ago, right? When I moved in 5 years ago, my 2 bedroom, 2 bath in a luxury apartment in what they call Polanco, but isn't Polanco, with a gym, a pool, full-time security, package office, pet place, all that stuff. Skyscraper, so I can see for mile. I see the mountains you can see the mountains through the smog. And I paid 25,000 pesos 5 years ago, and that was just over $1,000. It was like 1250. So last time I rented a place, I paid 1250. So now to go and look at places that are like 3,000, I'm like, what are we doing? Okay, but also I want you guys to be asking questions that will help you on your move. So get your questions in. Octavia says it's a common for apartments to not have heat. I don't have heat or air conditioning. I have fans and I have portable heaters. In Mexico City, in a lot of, it's going to depend on where you are, right? Like Mexico City is very temperate. So I don't have heat. I don't have air conditioning because if I had heat, I would have turned it on maybe to be super comfortable, over the winter, but holiday break, you want to be super comfortable. I might have turned it on like 10 times, maybe 5 to 8. Air conditioning, I have west facing windows. So in the afternoon, the sun is like right here. This is where the sun hits. The sun comes directly into my window. So I close my curtains in the afternoons. And I've turned on the fan maybe in this whole year, maybe 10 times, but also perimenopause. So who knows if it's hot or if it's hot? Nobody really knows. A place like Merida, where it's super hot, everybody has air conditioning. They also have super high electricity bills, super high, especially the new people there who don't realize you can't just be running your air conditioner like the way you might in the US. That split is going to cost you. Yeah, it's depending, like most places, the housing stock is built for what the people have needed traditionally. Traditionally here, you didn't need heat or air. There are some newer builds here that have heat and or air. The prices of the places I mentioned already are for 40-year-old buildings who don't have either. So you can imagine what you'd be paid in a place that has those. That's where I'll leave that. All right. Let's see what y'all talking about. Yeah, SMA is chilly at night, especially in January. No central heating in a large number of homes there. Yeah. All right. Let me make sure I'm grabbing all your questions. Oh, was I affected by the earthquake? Friends. Okay, we're gonna back up and give you all of this. This is gonna be some Mexico City stuff for you real quick. Mexico City was built on a lake. It was built on the dreams and the hope of a people. They filled in the lake and built homes of the time on the lake. And then they built more things. As the times changed, they built more things, still on the lake. Adelia lives on the old lake bed. Her apartment did this. I don't live on the old lake bed, and I live in a building that was built after the last 2 big earthquakes when people realized earthquakes were a huge problem here. I'm also a California girl, so earthquakes, whatever. I did some dumb stuff. I usually can't hear, but where I live, they haven't even had an earthquake alarm here because you don't really feel it. I heard the alarm and I was like, what's going on? And they have a new phone alarm. That alarm for the stolen kids, they also use it for earthquakes here. Not for stolen kids, just earthquakes. I hear the alert. I go to my floor to ceiling windows and look outside and see all the construction workers getting on the good foot and leaving the construction zone, which is underneath all these towers. I see the workers from the grocery store across the street coming out. And I was like, the people inside, did they just leave? If you're in the middle of grocery shopping and you get the alert that you need to be outside, right, and they don't play about that. I was staying in a place once and I didn't hear the alarm. And this man came and knocked on my door and was like, it's an earthquake. And I was like, it's cool, I'm all right. And he was like, no. In Spanish, he was like, no, you don't put some clothes on, you going outside. They don't play about that here. Any hoodle. I am looking floor to ceiling glass. I tell you, I'm looking outside to see what's happening with the little earthquake drill because I don't feel anything. And then I felt like a boop, boop. And I was like, you're being a big dummy. You hear the earthquake alarm. You know what that is. Get away from the glass. I got away from the glass. I felt a boop, boop, a little underneath my felt. If I had had one cocktail and I did not hear the alarm, I would not know there had been an earthquake. But if you look for video, the Angel of Independence, which sinks because it's heavy and it's built on hopes and dreams, the foundation of hopes and dreams, it sinks all the time. Anyhow, the Angel was like, Mike, don't make it. And the Angel's actually fallen off before, I believe, in an earthquake. I don't know exactly the circumstances, but I think it may be an earthquake. The top Angel ooped down to the ground. So seeing it sway was kind of crazy. Seeing the videos of it swaying, I didn't see it live. Any hoodle, all that to say, wherever you're going, it's important to know the history of natural disasters. We're making this relevant to all of you. It's important to know the history of natural disasters and to know what you can do to minimize your impact. I am on the 20-something floor. I'm not walking downstairs for earthquake. I'm just not. Then I got to walk back upstairs too for a little boop, boop, because I'm not on the old lake bed, so I don't feel it. If you grab a map of a city, if you want to move here and earthquakes scare you, grab a map of the city and see where the lake was and overlay that over a current map of what you're looking at. And you'll see it's not hard to find, especially some of the maps like will map it out by like metro station. Like this metro station used to be over the old lake and this one wasn't. I live on the far west side of the city. I'm just east of Polanco. I'm giving you a lot of information on where I live today, but I won't be here in like 2 weeks, so it don't matter. Polanco is not on the old lake bed. It's one of the reasons people like living there, right? You don't feel earthquakes in Polanco the way you would in Roma Norte or Condesa. Things to consider, right? Wherever you're going, you need to know what the natural disasters are there and how people deal with it. So like living on the second or third floor, if you're really scared of earthquakes, could be helpful because you could leave a building really quickly. With me, I'm like, I'm gonna write it out right here, see what happens. Get some water. I got some snacks in all the rooms, got some water in all the rooms. Let's see what happens. I'm not going down all these flights of stairs. Especially when, like I said, my building is built with earthquakes in mind. And most buildings built, I'm going to say in the last 10 or 15 years, are built with earthquakes in mind. And like I said, all I felt was like a boop, boop. Know what's going on where you're going. Yes. Dr. Bell says, I'm so over living with natural disaster hurricanes for me. She's from New Orleans, or has lived in New Orleans. So the Exodus plan eliminates cities with no natural risks. It was one of my move abroad criteria. Yeah. I am a California baby. Like an earthquake is just like brushing your teeth. Okay, so and get under a desk. Don't go by the big glass window. It's silly girl. The rest of it is fine. It's fine. Do I have a washer dryer in my building? In my apartment, there's no like washateria. Is that a Texas phrase? Anywho, there's no like laundry room in my building. In my unit, I have a washer dryer in one because that's all that could fit in my unit. In my new place, I would like to have a washer and a dryer because the washer dryer in one just isn't doing it for me no more. But most places you rent here don't have any appliances. In the ads for places, they'd be like, baby, there's a kitchen. There's a kitchen. And by that, they mean there are cabinets and a sink. That's a selling point. Cabinets and a sink are a selling point. In a fridge and an oven. Usually you'll have an oven built in. A fridge, you better bring it. There's a hole under my counter for where a dishwasher should go. I wasn't buying one. My landlord wasn't buying one. I store things in that hole. I got to bring my fridge with me. I got to bring my washer dryer with me when I go rent something else because none of these places have them. So, yeah. That's just how it is. But there's like laundromats everywhere if you don't want to get your own. Oh, yes. I made a video about this, but y'all, everyone was like, I made a video about why Mexico City is having problems and why if I was starting over from scratch, I would not move here right now. Y'all don't listen to me. It's fine. But the rate, the amount of water that exists in the ground, which is dependent on how much rain we get and how much pumping and removing of rainwater, how hot it gets, etc. Climate change, all those things impacts earthquakes, that impacts how we feel earthquakes, and it impacts the sinking of the city, which is a big deal because when the city is sinking, the buildings aren't on the foundation, they're not built. The foundation is crumbling underneath them. And so a lot of times you see buildings, a lot of older buildings are attached side by side. And you'll see two buildings that were the same height. And they were built on they shored up the foundations in different ways when they were building the buildings. And one will be here, and one will be there. And you can see all the cracks as the building sank next to the building next. The amount of water we have is a much bigger deal here than it is in other cities. One of the reasons I've enjoyed not living on the lake bed. Someone asked, so I actually want to get to this question. Okay, John Kett asked, since you love living in Mexico, would you consider buying if the long-term economics made sense? I could buy, once I go get my tax number one of these days, one of these years, let's be real, one of these years, I could buy a property. I think I've told you enough today about why I wouldn't buy property in Mexico City. Also, economics in Mexico are not the same as economics in other places of the world. In the sense, and we've talked about this on the channel before, a lot of homeowners don't need to sell their home to buy a new place. So in the US, selling your home may not be easy, but your home's not on the market for years. Here, homes are so easy to buy and very hard to sell, at least in Mexico City. Other places may be different. But to make this for all of you, it's important to know about not just how to purchase a home in the city you're thinking about buying property, if you are thinking about buying property. It's also important that you know what the sales process is like. In Mexico, my impression is that a lot of people, a lot of property owners are storing money in, that's just a way to like not have money in the bank. But they already have enough money in the bank. They're not worried about this. They don't need to sell a home to buy a new home. Because Mexican wealth is not American. They don't need to sell the home to buy a new home. Like, let that marinate for a minute. And so they're not in a rush to sell it. And so if this place has been on the market for, all these places are on the market 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, your place coming on the market that you need to sell in the next month because you got to leave town or you need the money for something else. No, no. Buying is really, really easy here and selling is really hard, especially if you're selling in a rush. So I would not buy in Mexico City, and there's nowhere else in Mexico I want to live right now, so I wouldn't think about that either. You need to know what the process, what the exit plan is when you buy a property. It is not, if you're buying property outside of America, it is not the American exit plan. I promise you, it is not. It is not the American exit plan. You need to know what the property market historically looks like. It's very easy to buy a house here. It is very hard to sell it. Imagine you can't sell your house because nobody else needs the money, so they're not in a rush to sell their house. So all these houses on the market. So in order to sell yours, you got to lower the price, maybe lower than you bought it for. This one right here. They don't even need to rent their properties, which is why these numbers don't make sense. They got the money. They got the money. They don't need places. You'll see places. It's not as much now because people are paying the crazy prices now. They weren't paying them 3 years ago. They're paying more of the crazy prices now. But people would rather leave their place empty than negotiate with you about their. They list them at crazy prices. They're not worried about renting. Some places are like for rent or for sale. We don't care. And you'll see it's been there listed forever. They don't care. It ain't a thing. It ain't a thing. And so you just deal with it, right? I do not want to get any more involved. I don't even want to rent, right? Like, please. I'm not interested in getting deeper involved in the real estate market here. Because when I want to pick up my money and go, I want to pick up my money and go. I don't want to hear I have to list it at some crazy, if I want any money, I got to list it at some crazy low price, or I got to list it on the market for like 4 or 5 years and hope eventually some sucker comes along. No, no. Mm-mm. Okay. I've got some good questions. Let's see. Oh, there's a male YouTuber who I was considering buying there. A lawyer told him no also. You got to do your homework. You got to do your homework because you can't apply your American mindset to a different country. You will get your feelings and your wallet will be on the floor, balled up in tears. Michelle said she thinks it's her the same thing in Thailand. Yeah. Parking assets. I told y'all already. I think I told y'all. I have a lease with a wife. I pay rent to the husband. His name not anywhere on the property. I believe we're looking at tax evasion and maybe some other kind of like fraud. That's not my business though. I'm required to pay and I pay like I'm told to. I did tell y'all because I told y'all she tried to get me instead of paying him for his last year just to pay her American Express bill, pay that money towards her American Express bill. The fraud got a little less light, got a little heftier. That fraud had a little more junk in the trunk than before. But like I said, not my business. Not my business. But yeah, not paying taxes, not letting the government know what you own, not having money in the bank. That's not the game I play, right? Mm-mm. Angela says one place she looked at needed paint badly and tile and plaster repair. My owners have been refusing for over 2 years. Oh, the townhouse I told you guys I want and I'm going to get. I offered her $250 under asking, and she was like, "Nah." I found out the other day someone offered her asking price, and she still said no. Must be nice, right? I try not to get into the must be nice because it feels real passive aggressive and shady. But it must be nice that you're getting offered your asking price and still being like, no, why doesn't my friend stay here? Woo! To not need money like that. My college roommate, Mexican, co-owns a huge family compound in Plain they will never sell. And that's why most of the times when you see foreigners renting, they're renting apartments and not homes. Houses, an actual house here, it don't leave the bloodline. You're not even getting in there. It's rare to even rent one unless something happened in the family. I don't know. Um, you're not even renting a house, a compound, a house. You can get an apartment, an actual house. Abuela not leaving because her abuela used to be in here too. They're not going nowhere. Sit down. So yes, these are the things that are good to know. All right, let me get back to the questions. Would you ever do a group cruise on the Ritz-Carlton? No. It's too much money for you to go on my word. Because if you don't enjoy it or you don't think it's worth the money, they're going to do it with me. I've never told you guys to go do it. I've said I really enjoy it. I'm very clear about how I talk about things like that. I enjoyed it. That don't mean you would, right? That doesn't mean that you would. And so I would not do a group cruise. Also, I go on there to sleep and eat. And if I did a group situation, y'all would want to talk and hang out and do things. And I love you. But the point of the boat is to sleep and eat. So no, I wouldn't do that. Here she go. She's not doing it. She just want to sleep and eat too. Also, last time I think I got COVID on the boat, which could happen anywhere. Could happen to anyone. Stephanie did her big one and got COVID like weeks before the boat, so she didn't get anything on the boat. But I was like, ugh, this is how I die. Whatever. Okay, good question. What do y'all do for your cell phone service? My phone number is attached to many accounts. I'd like to keep it. I switched. Oh, let's do this real quick. Let me help you out. I'm gonna help myself out too. Give me a second while I look up something. Mm. All right. No, that's not it. Copy. I use Google Fi. I just dropped a Google Fi link referral code in the chat. If y'all want this, it saves you 60. You get a $60 credit when you join Google Fi. I transferred my number over from. I started with Verizon, then I went to T-Mobile, and then I went to Google Fi. On Google Fi, I have my Google Fi was $70 something a month for me to use anywhere. And then they turned off my data because I've been outside of the US for too long. So I have a phone number that I can use. I can make calls and I can get texts on my number for $25 a month. I keep my number on Google Fi for $25 a month. And I don't use that for data. I use a Mexican SIM for data, and my Mexican SIM is 200 pesos. For last time I got 7 gigabytes. I only use like 2 in a month, and I got 7 last time. And that is for 200 pesos. That's $11 a month. So I pay $25 to keep my old number, and I pay $11 a month for data in Mexico. Anytime I go somewhere else, I use an app that I heard about from someone in our community, Abba. Oof, Jack, what are we doing? I use, come on, Saley, and I'm going to share this code too for an eSIM. eSIM provider. So if you're interested in any of those, if I'm going to, for like my eSIM, if I'm going to be, when I went to Europe earlier this year, I went to Greece for a week, and then I was in Lisbon for a day, and then I was on the boat. I used Saley, and I got their European plan, right, for like 2 weeks or so. And then it worked in Greece. The day I was in Lisbon, I didn't need to get a new SIM because I was still on the same European regional plan. And the first few days on the boat, I could still use it because we stayed close by for a while. So 3 different places, I used the same eSIM. So yeah, I recommend Google Fi. It's what I use. I believe Amina said she ported her number to Google Voice for like a $15 fee. Port your number somewhere cheaper is basically what I'm saying. Port your number somewhere cheaper and get data service outside in the country you're in. Because when you see what you could be paying, like when I was in Morocco and I bought a SIM card off the street, I think I got like 3 gigabytes of data for like $2 or something crazy. And I'm like, how much would this cost in the US? How much? It's crazy. So yes, that's what I use. An eSIM provider if I'm going to be in and out of a country real quick, or I use Telcel here and I just re-up my plan. Yeah. So, I do like Croatia. That is the thing. Stephanie here with the tips. Get your COVID before an expensive vacation, not on the expensive vacation. Smart. One of us did it right, one of us did it wrong. But she got her COVID right before the summit and was like, and I was like, you can't die before the summit. You got to be alive during the summit. You can die after. I can't control what the Lord wants, right? What he's doing, what he's cooking up, I ain't got it. But you know you can't die before the summit, so cut that shit out. Get that doctor to the house, please and thank you. All right. Jazzy says, "Are you as calm as you seem about not knowing where you're going to live? If so, why? How?" If I'm as calm as I seem about not knowing where I'm going to live in a month from now, I'm extremely calm. First of all, I told y'all, I'm delusional. Step one, I'm delusional. Step two, I'm a manifester. If I want it, I'm going to get it. Done and done. Step three, a good thing to know about Mexico City, Mexico in general, I think, but definitely Mexico City. Your landlord can't kick you out. To evict me, it would take her an extremely long time. So if I don't find a place, I'll just pay another month's rent. I'm going to find a place though. It's the townhouse. I tell y'all, it's the townhouse. We're working on it. But yeah, another reason not to buy a place here. Another reason people aren't pressed about renting out their place if they don't need the money. You can't kicking a tenant out. Now, it's not a super like tenant friendly place. Like you're probably not gonna get your deposit back, no matter what happens, right? But when you live there, you live there. But that's not it. I'm delusional. I'm going to find the place I want for the price I want in the neighborhood I want with everything I want in the next 2 weeks. And then I have 2 weeks to move before this lease is over. Why wouldn't I be calm? I believe in an abundant universe. Life is generous. My apartment is right around the corner. All I have to do is take the action, go look at places, go see things. Even if I think they're not winners, just go see them, do the work, give my landlord notice way in advance of when I needed to give her notice, doing the work. Because my place is right around the corner. It's waiting for me. So yeah, I'm calm. But also, what's she gonna do? She can't even. Last time she needed to get in the building, she couldn't even get in the building. My landlord couldn't get in the building without me. What you gonna do, baby girl? Like I said, that's not my plan. Is not to stay here, not to overstay the lease. I would like to be out of here. But my apartment is waiting for me to come sign the lease. My perfect apartment with everything I want is waiting for me. I'm just doing the work till we meet. Delusional manifestation is me. Mm-hmm. Oh, the Google file link returned an error when you tried it. Well, girl, I don't know why. Yeah, my US phone plan wanted to charge $40 a week to have coverage for Mexico. Creative Flavor, when I was on Verizon first, and they were like, it's $10 a day anywhere outside of the US or Mexico, I was like, if I'm gone for 365 days, that's $3,000 for a phone. I was there like, I don't need. Now, in a lot of places, public Wi-Fi is much more accessible, or cafes or something much more accessible than it is in the US. I was like, I'm not giving out all this money. And that's when I switched later on to T-Mobile. Yes. Red Shoes asked the great question. Can you keep your T-Mobile service in Mexico and simply pay the flat rate offered in the US for cell and internet flat, $50 flat for both? Yes, until T-Mobile says, hey girl, I see you've been out of the country for a while. You don't need to bring your butt back to the US unless you want us to cut you off. They don't want you to have extended, it costs them more to have extended coverage outside of the US because they're hopping on somebody else's tower, right? They're co-locating on someone else's tower. And so in order to do that, it costs them more money than it would if you were in the US using their stuff, or if it's stuff they have a little cheaper in the US. And so that roaming, they're not going to let you do it for too long. Most times the cell phone companies give you a little alarm around month 6. Month 6 is when they're like, you've been here enough. So I would keep that in mind. I would keep that in mind. You can do it for a while. A while is probably not a year. So you can do it until you can't. Which is why having other plans, porting, getting data somewhere else, these are all helpful things. Okay. Lisa asked a great question, which will lead to a second question. The next question. Okay. Hi. Are you concerned about what's going on in Venezuela and Trump's threat to Mexico? No. Adelia and I talked about this yesterday. Because we both left the house. Aren't you proud of us? Any hoodle. The president of the US is a bully. And he picks on people that he thinks are weaker than him. And he picks on people who he doesn't think have friends. He believes Mexico is weaker than the US. And in a lot of ways it is. Not all the ways, but a lot of ways it is. Mexico has friends. Mexico, an incursion into Mexico by Trump is something that would alarm all of Latin America. Everything south of the border of the US is going to be alarmed. Right? Venezuela, she ain't got that many homies. Right? He did small things in Venezuela for a while. Small things, and no countries push back. If you start small things in Mexico, countries gonna have something to say. Because they know if Trump can get to Mexico and cause the kind of damage he's doing in Venezuela in Mexico, they're next. Same way, like Greenland, he knows Greenland has homies. And like Denmark doesn't really sound like an issue, but Denmark is Europe. Like they have friends. So I'm not worried. Sheinbaum is a very popular leader in this country. It's not the kind of leader where people are like, oh, we can't wait for her to go, right? And there are places in the world who are like, I would like my president to go, and I'll take a chance on the US, right? Like what they may be better. There's no way Mexicans, children of the land would think that Trump is going to be better for them than Sheinbaum would. And when I tell you my impression of these people here is that they will die for this country. They will die for this land, right? More than half of which was stolen from them already by that country up north. They're not letting them. So I'm not worried because I don't If he started to do little things in Mexico and no one pushed back, I think I would be a little bit more worried that something larger could happen. But I'm not worried right now, because once I remember they put then people in Texas were like, oh, what side of the Rio Grande is ours? We don't know, or whatever it was. We don't know. We're just gonna put some signs up and say it's the property of the U.S. government. And then Claudia had her boys go down there and take them signs, go up, and it's never come up again. That issue has never come up again. And I believe the U.S. ambassador to Mexico apologized for it. Those are the little things we're talking about. If you see more of those little things and no one pushes back. But Mexico is, I think, this is an old stat. I don't know what it is now, but it was, I believe, the 13th biggest economy in the world. This is not Venezuela. Not Venezuela. No, not to say there's no money in Venezuela, because we know that that's the other thing. We know they're going to Venezuela for oil. What are they coming, besides land and bullying, right? What are they coming to Mexico for? Not that they don't have resources here, but they don't have the rare minerals or oil in the large supply that the oil companies who are pulling his strings want right now. Yeah, Angela says the same thing. Something else not really about the drugs. It's never been about the drugs, and there's no oil, not in any large amount. What would the actual endpoint be? Coming in and getting Claudia out her bed and taking her to the US and saying it's about drugs, child, they're not going. You would not have Mexicans cheering in the streets. That's not. It would be a different kind of international incident. It would be definitely a different type of international incident. Mm-mm. I'm in Canada, and our prime minister has a great relationship with President Sheinbaum. Yes, people like her. People like her. You're not just going. I was thinking about this morning. He has been having a chummy relationship with that lady from Venezuela who won the Nobel Peace Prize, right? They've been buddy. Cool. That's his girl. She should be the next president of the country. But now that he took over, I believe he said something like, she ain't got that dog in her. Yeah, I know I said she would be a great president when I was trying to get up in there. But now that I got up in there, I think we're going to have to be in charge of the country, is what he's saying now. Now, as a strategist, I would think this is not a good solution if you have more coups planned. Because who is going to trust you to install them as president if you've been saying, you're my girl? When Maduro's gone, that's all you. That's all you. And now that he's gone, you're like, ooh, I just don't think you have it in you. The people don't really like you like that. I'm going to have to. Who's going to help you the next time you want somebody to give you the address to the president's bedroom? Who in another country is going to be like, yes, you screwed over that lady in Venezuela, but I trust you here? Where is the strategy? Where is it? If you want to coup again, you got to build up some trust. And baby, that man don't build up no trust nowhere. So I'm not worried about that. I I always say the man's not rational, so you never know what might happen, right? Like if we had a rational president like we've had in the past, you might say, "Oh, I know what to expect." Like this, I wasn't expecting a war in the Middle East, but okay, here we are. I understand how things are going. Here, who knows? Who knows? Yeah, my friends don't like her. Coups work when you have someone to install. If your coup is just taking over the entire country and trying to run it from America when you can't even run America, less likely to have the military help you, which is usually what you need. Usually you need some people in the military to turn the right. You need a little bit of treason. It's hard to get that treason when the people aren't going to get what they want, which is to be in charge. Any hoodle. How I know a lot of it is drugs, but how does evil stay alive so long? How? Okay, so I think this is really interesting. Maduro caused problems in the Obama years of fuel prices. I was paying for it. See, pero those were his problems to cause, right? Like we're not in charge of what other people do in their countries because we don't want to pay that much for oil. Like that was his problem to cause. It wasn't up to the US to say they have oil. And so, for the betterment of the US people, we're going to take over and lower oil prices. That's not what's happening. They took over so the oil companies can make more money. Them oil prices not going to go down, not significantly. We're not going, listen, when I started driving, the oil was like 82 cents. The gas was 82 cents a gallon. 81. I think I might have even seen a 79. We're not going back there. And if we're not going back there, why are we starting a war? That's not what happened when they were warring out over in the Middle East over oil. It's called capitalism. And yes, that's the problem. Yes, I know it's called capitalism. Capitalism leading to coups should be a clear sign that we've let capitalism get too far as a society, as a world. That should be a sign. People have died, right? They bombed. They're killing people on boats claiming drugs to see what other people are going to do. And we say it's called capitalism? That's the problem. That's the problem. Yes, capitalism. The fact that we're letting oil countries run US politics, the fact that we had all those Americans die in the Middle East over oil so we could get lower oil prices, which never went down. That's the only people who won from that were the oil companies. Yes, capitalism is a problem. So we can call it capitalism all we want, but we also have to recognize that like it's problematic. a lot of times, and this relates to how I feel about gentrification in a lot of places. We say, oh, that's just capitalism. Like it's an innocent thing, right? Oh, that's our world is that's just capitalism, that's just patriarchy. Maybe if we want to separate it, but we don't need to, right? We could say, oh, that's just racism. But they're all there causing problems, and we just say, oh, that's just why are landlords raising rents like this? Oh, that's just capitalism. If they can, why not? Who does it help? Like Junquette says, slavery was capitalism too. That's the problem. That's the problem. We have to name the problem. Capitalism in its form as we see it now is a problem. It is ruining the planet we live on. Y'all kids gonna be buying oxygen out a vending machine in like 20 years. And people are gonna say, oh, capitalism. It's just capitalism. It's not on us. Like the leaders, no, not everybody's elected. Everyone gets into their offices however they do. I know there's some. I always say that to become the leader of a country, you've probably done some terrible things. You're probably a terrible person who's done some terrible things. No exceptions. I have no exceptions to that rule. To become the leader of a country, you're probably un poco terrible. At least a little bit okay, right? Okay. But like it's not on us. We America has not been granted any kind of authority, moral or otherwise, to tell other countries how they should run themselves. Absolutely not. We don't have any kind of moral superiority that should say, "Oh, well, I don't like the way they're governing over there," and drugs, and drugs. We do. Because as much as I say that in Mexico, I'm not worried about what's happening, I know of it geopolitics. The way this man is running the country is going to bite all of us outside the country in the ass at some point. I don't know when. We may not see the impact of it for 10 years, for 5. I don't know. Not I don't think he's going to be alive then. But I'm just saying, like, the actual impact may not be for a while. But I do think there's going to be impact because you don't do the things he's doing without other people trying to get their lick back. Like, other places are going to feel a way about America, a way I thought we'd gotten over in the past 20 years. But no, no. Um, anyhow, Lindsay recommends that we read The History of the World in 7 Cheap Things by Raj Patel. Let me see if I can find this on Libby real quick. Support your local libraries. Why do you like this book, Lindsay? Tell us more. My library doesn't have it. Boo hiss. But I'm gonna save it. Okay. All right. Let's get back to your questions. I'm so like, I'm not worried about Venezuela and, and its impacts on Mexico. I am worried about what it feels like to be abroad and to be considered complicit in whatever happens in America in the next few years. Right? I don't think that he's going to get in here and do anything. I could be wrong. We'll find out. I do think it's going to be harder to be a citizen of the world when everybody hates the country you're from. All right, back to our questions. Do you feel like an outsider still? Like, do you feel somewhat like an outsider after 5 years? I don't think I will ever feel like an insider. I have darker skin than the majority of the population here. People clock me as an outsider. There's no amount of listen. Adele and I go into places speaking Spanish, speaking pretty good Spanish, and they're like, "So how do you want your taco?" Can I not order in the language that I know you speak and I'm speak? Last night we were at a place and we had to keep speaking in Spanish and they kept speaking to us in English and they weren't practicing. Their English was really good. They did not need practice, but they were like, clocked. We know where you're from. Come get this English. I don't think I'll ever feel like an insider. There's no amount of knowledge I can gain. I think if I was a citizen, I would still feel like an outsider. Like I said, even no matter how long I've been here, people will still walk up to me in the streets, like that lady the other day, welcome to Mexico. Oh, okay. Now, every once in a while, I fool somebody. But it's usually like not when I'm talking, it's when I'm not talking because of the way I move, right? Like I said the other day when I was on the bus and that man tried to stick us up without a weapon. He just used his voice to tell us we need to give him our money. There's a video about this on my channel. I'm not going to go into too much details right now. The woman the abuela on the bus afterwards was like, yabba, 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 yabba. And I was like, wait, slow down. I ain't got it all. And she was like, you're a foreigner? And I was like, yes, Mamacita, I am. She did not clock me as a foreigner at first. I think because I was like, number one, I'm on a bus. Number one, I'm on and not the metro bus. I'm on like a local bus. And number two, I didn't back down from the man who wanted money. And so when she was like, you're not even from around here? I was like, no, girl. So there are times, but like once I started speaking, she was like, oh, she's not. I don't think my Spanish is going to get good enough that outside of situations like a robbery where I don't respond the way they would expect a foreigner to respond, I don't think people are going to think I'm local. So I'm always going to feel like an outsider. There are ways that my life is very local and there are ways that my life isn't. Right? So yeah, I don't think I'll ever feel other than an outsider. I'm othered all the time. All the time. I was in a store yesterday with Adelia and I walked into the bathroom. It was you walked down this hall area and then there were different doors for the men's and women's bathroom. I walked in and the men's bathroom door was like what faced you directly. And this man is staring at me with like questions on his face. And I was like, oh, snap, I walked into the wrong room. And then I was like, no, there's a woman's room right there. I just need to walk in. And I was like, oh, I'm Black. That's like, I thought I was doing something. I accidentally walked into a men's room before. Been like, oh, wait, the smell. I'm not supposed to be in here. Right. And so I thought something like that had happened. Like I had made the wrong turn. Because he was like, what? And I was like, oh no. I forget sometimes I'm Black. He doesn't understand why I'm here at all. Not that I walk into the wrong room, but he has other confusions about me. Okay. Yeah. I wrote a whole piece the other day that I was going to send as an email or make a video about what it's like to always be an outsider and never be an insider. Maybe I'll do that. It's written. Might as well use it. Always an outsider. Yeah. So, all right. Other questions? Oh, so the question I was going to follow up Lisa R's question with was, have you been to Antigua, Guatemala? I'm traveling there next week. What do you think if you went? I have been there. It's I won't be traveling in Latin America for the next month. If you feel fine going, go. I don't have any trips planned outside of like San Miguel, so that doesn't really matter. But I just feel like I wouldn't be worried. I think the only thing I would be concerned about is all these places have already closed their airspace, right? And it's mostly the islands close to Venezuela. But like for me, I would be unsure of what comes next, right? If you can afford to be time wise and money wise to be stuck in Guatemala for an extra week, no big deal, right? I wouldn't worry about it if you can be there an extra week or two. But if you're like very tight time frame, I don't know about traveling in America right now. I don't know that I would because I don't need to, right? I'm here. I'm not leaving Mexico, so I can't get well, I'm leaving Mexico in March. We'll know more by then. But love Antigua. If you feel comfortable, go. If you can get stuck there, go. If you're like, I need to be back on the date my ticket says I need to be back, I don't know. I don't know if that was helpful, but that's what I got. Derar wants you to buy travel insurance. Yes. Make sure you're subscribed and you give us a thumbs up. Red Shoe says this was awesome. Yay, thank you. Okay. Let me see whatever questions we haven't answered. No one's talked about the increase in minimum wages. Would you be able to tell us what the new solvency amounts are? I don't have that, but I know our friend from the Mexico relocation guide does. 2026 solvency. She sent an email out yesterday that was about fees, not the rate. But I don't see that yet. A big change is coming over 2025. No, I don't see the rates yet. Give it a week or two. And all of the people who normally send out that information will send it out. All right. What have I entered? Kicking it with Kim. What are my thoughts about Albania? I have never been to Albania, so I have no thoughts. Besides, it's a place you can lay down and rest for a year. I believe Albania gives you 365-day tourist visa, I believe. But other people in the chat have been to Albania. So if you've been to Albania, let Kim know what you think. I can't help you, Kim, but we can crowdsource the answer. What other countries do you think would be great to move to with low barrier of entry, like Panama? Ecuador is a good choice. Low barrier. I think it depends on what you mean by move, right? If you want to be somewhere for a year, Albania, Georgia, some of those other countries will give you a year visa. Rwanda will give you a 10-year tourist visa. I mean, you have to do some paperwork, but a 10-year tourist visa is a pretty low barrier to entry. So, yeah, it depends on what you mean. If you mean move like the rest of your life, I would want you to have some kind of residency visa. But if you mean hang out for a year and you can hang out for a year on a tourist visa, the world is yours. Yeah. Let's see. A Mexican neighbor told someone I'm not a tourist, I'm negrita. No idea what to do with that, but it was helping me pay for something less. It's the negrita that is still othering, right? It's still othering in the sense that like here, like Kami Chilango. It means someone from Mexico City, right? Like anything other than that, Mexicana, anything other than that, to me is othering. It's still, you can tell she's different, but let me explain her difference to you. I don't expect ever to escape that. Not that I need to, not that I care about it, but there's always that form of like, yeah, she's a little different. Not quite one of us, but a good one, right? I claim her, but Afro Mexicano would be Black Mexican. Negrita generally just means Black. Negrita in Mexico would most likely refer to someone who is, as a guess, based on my experience here, someone who is Latina and Black, probably not from Mexico. Yeah. Somebody says, but we are other, clearly. And I'm like, yes. It's why I don't expect to ever feel like an insider, because I will always feel othered, because I am other, right? Like that's just what it is. It's just what it is. All right, more questions. Tall2 says, do you think your life abroad would be more difficult with a home base inside the US versus outside? Do you mean, would my life be more difficult if I lived in the US and wanted to bop around? Or do you mean if I lived outside the US but also had a US home base? Tall2, if you're still here, please let me know and then I'll answer that question. Soraya Fitness says, any tips for saving money on housing while bopping around or traveling that isn't house sitting or rooming with other people? Live like a local. Now, it's harder when bopping, right? You don't have a lot of the same opportunities that locals have. Um, House sitting, your best choice. Rooming with someone else, hostels, any kind of like work situation where they give you housing, like working at like a farm or a camp or something like that, working in someone's home, any kind of work exchange program where you get housing is a good thing. If you don't want to do that, you just want to pay for housing up front, but you don't want to pay a lot, you will have to dig down and see where people stay when they ain't got a lot of money. And you may not like that housing. But if you want to fit your budget, that's an option. That's probably the only other option besides work exchanges that you haven't mentioned. The only other option I can think of is just looking for places that cost less. Might don't like them though. In my search yesterday, I saw a couple of places that were like 15,000 pesos. So that's $837 right now. It should be 750, but I digress. And it was like 8 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms. And when I looked at those photos, I was like, click me out of here. Click me away from this immediately. Because I can't live here. Won't. Shan't. But if you could rent that one of those 8 rooms for $100 for a month, 150, throw in a little bonus to the landlord, it's out there. You just might have to dig to find it, and you might not like what it looks like or where it is. But if you're crossing off most of the options, most of the readily available options, you're gonna have to dig a little deeper. All right. Click me away from this. Girl, he was trying to rob the whole bus. No. I think he was trying to rob the whole, he was asking the bus to give him money very firmly. It's in the video. We don't need to get into that here. But it wasn't just me. It was everybody. Everybody needed to come up as well. That actually happened to me on the train yesterday too. So on the bus, everybody gave the man on the bus money. Yesterday, a man who looked a little homeless, I don't think he was wearing shoes, came through with the same amount of bass in his voice into the all women's car and was like, y'all need to give me 4 pesos. Now, this has never happened to me before December. It's happened once in December, once in January. This has never happened to me before in all the years I've lived here. He has some bass in his voice, but I don't know if it's because he was in the all women's car or because he looked like he ain't had no shoes, so we weren't worried about him. Not a woman moved. No one went in their wallet. No one did anything. He is hollering, give me money. Give me 4 pesos. And now I believe them women. The bus, I said, I don't think them people on the bus were ready for a fight. The women in the woman's car on the subway, I could see it in their eyes. They're about to get down. If he put his hands on anybody, those women were going to get down. The man on the bus, I say this lovingly as someone who has, as a minority from America, the man on the bus looked like he'd done some time before. A smidge in some kind of state facility somewhere. He looked like he could harm you. The man on the train looked like he was desperate and thought the base would work. Like I guess he knows it does for other people. it did not work for him. Anyhow, no, nothing with the color of my skin. They just want money for anybody who'll give them money. Othered, but not like an additional victim, not identified as a victim because of my color, right? Just I take public transportation. And sometimes it gets a little interesting. What are my thoughts about Querétaro? It is a great city for a soft landing. If you want to drive, if that's important to you, it's a good place. It's very sprawling. Lots of American stores like H-E-B. I think I saw that Purple Gym. You know the Purple Gym. Lots of those kinds of things out there. So familiar things. I want to be in a very walkable place, and so it's not the city for me. Oh. Was the decision to live abroad based on affordability solely or on politics? There are plenty of hidden gems on properties on the West Coast, on the beach, at affordable. Example, $125,000 condo. I'm a very vibey person. I picked which college I wanted to go to by walking through the gates and being like, I should be here. You know the people with the "you should be here" sign from that MLM, that travel MLM from 10 years ago or so? That's how I live my life. I like it. I'm doing that. No, I love every time I came to Mexico City, I loved it. I loved being here. And so that was it. It wasn't affordability or politics. If it was affordability, I wouldn't still be in Mexico City because these numbers are crazy. But I love the vibe here, so I stay. All right. Every metro, yes, every train in Mexico City. I don't know about the interurban trains because I haven't taken them, but Adelia and I are going to take it soon. It's part of our plan. But every metro train, the first 2 to 3 cars, usually 3, are women only, women and kids, like kids under 10. And if a man rolls up in there, the woman, I've seen old men get away with it. Like if your hair is gray and you by yourself and you're not bothering anybody, fine. A group of young men, somebody's tea is about to hit them, yell at them, halt. I've seen men get screamed on for being in the wrong car. Now it's obvious you're in the wrong car. You don't get on there on accident. You decided you don't need to respect. There's usually, in order to get to the part of the platform where the woman's car is, there's often a police officer there. Like, no, not you. There's always a gate. There's always some kind of either paint on the sign and paint on the floor, letting you know anything above this is a women's section. Or there's often like some kind of thing that blocks away to make it smaller. So like you're not accidentally, you have to walk past this big barrier to get to where the woman's car is. And I like it because it's usually less people, because you can only go if you're a woman traveling by herself or with children, right? So there's less people in there. And when you got to be, sometimes on the train, you got to be body to body. Somebody's junk is on you, and I would just rather it be lady junk. If we're going to do this, if I'm going to be pressed up on somebody, let it be a woman. But usually there's less people, so you're less pressed up. There's more air circulating because there's less people. And if I got to be tits to tits, right? So, you know, Darrell said she wouldn't move back to the U.S. if all her expenses were paid in full. Oh, everywhere ain't so Suez that I got on the train in error. I was politely told to leave by a sweet old lady. You probably didn't look like you were from around there. If you look like you knew what you were doing and it wasn't a mistake, they wouldn't be so nice about it. But yeah, every train, the first 3 cars, the metro bus has seats. Almost every form of public transportation has some women's only section. And within the women's only section, there are seats that are reserved for old people, old women, pregnant women, disabled women, hurt women, any of that. Those are all every. So you might be in the women's section, but you get up, right? So that's a nice part of it. Mm-hmm. All right. Let's see. What other questions before we get out of here? Did Kim's? Oh, what would be this a fun one? What would be my second choice alternate country that would get cold enough to wear your coats if you ever had to leave Mexico? You want to move somewhere cool? The very first place I went in Latin America was Bogota. Now, someone else, y'all know, moved to Bogota because she wants to be like me, but I love it, and it could be a second choice city, and it does not get warm. It's a place where you could wear coats. It's not cold, but it's colder than it is here. My coats there would be less places to go, but there would be more opportunities for coats. So yeah, if you like a little cooler weather, look at Bogota. Oh, yay! The real Sam. I love this. Thank you, friend. She doesn't have a question. She just wants to let me know. Thank me for encouraging her to dine alone. She did it, and she's so grateful. Yay! Your first step for traveling abroad solo. Go eat by yourself. Go do something you're not used to doing by yourself. Your first step to getting out of the country by yourself and feeling very confident about it. Do something you're not used to doing by yourself. And something where people can see you doing it alone, not going to the mall. Nobody cares if you're in the mall by yourself. Be visible doing something by yourself. Congratulations, the real Sam. That's amazing. Yay. Okay. Jazzy wants to know, is it less expensive if you sign a long-term lease? Can you get a lease for more than 1 year? We already covered that money is not really a concern for these people. So you could sign a lease for a year and maybe get the same rate. When I got into this apartment, it was the old times. So I don't know what would happen in the new time. I was talking to someone who was negotiating their lease, and they offered 6 months up front to get a lower rate, 6 months cash in hand to get a lower rate. And the landlord was like, nah. People turning down 6 months cash up front from a tenant who ain't got no residency, so could be gone in 6 months and never come back. Could be gone in 3 months, never come back. Property owners here aren't motivated by money the way they are in other places. Because to own property here, you have money. Because bank loans are, this hasn't been a society that has generally worked an economy where credit has been a big thing. So a lot of the properties that are owned now were paid for outright in cash 5, 10, 20 years ago. So they don't they had to get a loan and pay a mortgage because they couldn't get a loan and pay a mortgage. These are cash properties. They don't need your money. You're not worried about it. All right. I don't think you should let your idea or your fear about how Mexico might react to the US president doing whatever he gonna do impact your plans for moving to Mexico if you want to move to Mexico. Because we don't know what's going to happen, right? And you don't know how individuals feel, right? Your Kanhei, if you've already done the US part, your Kanhei is just paperwork, right? You've already been approved. So what is the reaction that you would be worried about? Someone just has to be like, yep, that's her. Let's take her photo, do her fingerprints, get her biometrics. Now getting approved on the US side could be harder now, but no harder than it's been over the past year, right? He's been a terrible president for a year. I don't think you're going to see a huge reaction to this. I think you're going to see more of the same, which is it's not as easy as it was 5 years ago, but it's as easy as it's going to get. So if you want to do it now, do it now. All right. Let's see. We're going to do one more question and get out of here. Oh, okay. Julie's question. If there was no Exodus Summit community and you couldn't travel, what is fulfilling about life in Mexico? So this is a hard one to answer because if I couldn't travel, how would that compare to my life in other countries? Would I be able to travel? If I lived in Peru, would I be able to travel? Right? And I feel like what's fulfilling is a relative question. I love the people. I love the culture. I love the food. I love being left alone. I love being left alone. I'm going to be in community no matter where I go, whether it's Exodus Summit or some other community, right? When I was traveling for a year, Exodus Summit wasn't around yet, and I joined brothers and sisters in Chiang Mai and went to their weekly family dinner every week, and I could be there, right? I would be in community. So even if there was no Exodus Summit, I would be in community in Mexico. If I couldn't travel, I love to travel, but I also love to be in Mexico, right? Like the culture, the museums, the art, comida, the tacos I had last night. We were in a department store last night. The department store had a mezcaleria. We weren't expecting that. Outside of the mezcaleria, outside, I mean like it's the middle of a department store. So like right there, we're in the department store. On the other side of the aisle from the mezcaleria, there's a Cuban band. We think they're Cuban. Best guess. Lady has her microphone in her tata. Needs to be bigger. And she's singing down into her tatas and shaking her maracas. And the guitar, one man's on the guitar, one man's on the drums, and the other one was doing something else. A good time. We just went to the department store. We went to the department store to see if we can get some, because they have a food court, to go buy some food. And now we're drinking mezcal and watching a lady sing into her tits. Let's go. Cuban band. When I tell you that every person who walked by with the child stopped and danced with the child, every person. Everybody holding the baby was like, baby, we dancing. Everybody was dancing. Kids are putting their change in the band's hat. I ain't seen no Cuban band inside of Macy's. Everybody walking by and dancing and dropping money while I'm drinking mezcal. This is the life I want to live. This is the life I want to live. 2 trains and maybe a 10-minute walk total later. We're on the other side of town, drinking palomas, eating great tacos, watching the world pass us by. Now, the city isn't all about alcohol or food. It just happens to be what we did last night. But like, every person holding a child stopped and cha-cha'd with their child. Pop, pop, pop. One couple walked by with a child they weren't holding. They were on the ground and they let him go to dance. He went straight to a mannequin and was like, I'm gonna pull this mannequin right down. So they had to go. That was the child they had to go get. That child wasn't allowed to just sit and dance. But this, yeah, that's it. That's what I want. It's big fun. Reblue Room says it's a good life. Yes. She had her microphone because she was shaking the maracas, right? And when she was singing, she would be like, bum, 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 bum. That, so the mic could pick up her lovely voice. We in the mall, ain't no mic stand. But I got this bra. Make it do what it do. Make it do what it do. The black man in the band, so excited to see us. So excited to see us. Thrilled. Hey. Yes. I love it here. I love it here. Ooh, Flutter by PNW comes to Mexico for Kanye next week. Yay. All right, I'm gonna get out of here. Yeah, Jalen, come dance in Mexico City. It's a good time. It's a good time. So yes, what's fulfilling is really just being here amongst people who are living lives. Living lives, full and complete lives. A good time. A good time. All right, friends, like, subscribe, do all the normal things. Please, if you haven't done it already, it helps me out. Y'all, I'm going to spend this week in San Miguel. The San Miguel meetup, Exit Summit meetup is on the 9th. And then I'm back here next week to do more apartment searching. I'm hoping that whatever you're doing, it's excellent. You're enjoying yourself. I'm going to drop a link. Friends in the membership will start probably in about 10 minutes. I'll drop the link for you guys, and I will see the rest of you next week. We'll do some more talking, some more hellos. All right, friends. Talk soon. Bye. Oh, wait. I almost forgot. I almost forgot. If you're not here, I dropped the link on how to join the community, right? I told you about that. I'm saying this because if I don't say it and y'all miss out, y'all gonna be mad at me, and I can't afford any more anger from you guys. Y'all get mad at me because you didn't know a thing that you should have known anyway. But on Tuesday, our Get Your Next 3 Clients Challenge starts in Exodus ASAP. If you are a coach, a teacher, a therapist, if you get clients online and you could use 3 more clients, not that 3 is the cap, but if 3 more would help you, if 3 more could make a difference in your business, join us at the Get Your Next 3 Clients Challenge. It is this week, starting Tuesday and Thursday for the next 3 weeks at exodusasap.com. Would love to have you there. And now that's the end of it. Besos. Talk to you guys later. We'll see you hopefully in the challenge. Stephanie and I are going to be coaching because it's what we do, what we're very good at. And see you next time. Bye, y'all.